Hey, Pepin.
Yeah, what's up, Steve?
You remember how you were recommending Death Note to me, that TV show?
Yeah, the anime.
Absolutely. So, I watched it in 2 days.
2 days?
Yeah, the entire show in 2 days.
The entire show?
Yeah, I took a day off work.
Oh my god. Dude, we need to talk.
Welcome back. Glad you could join us. We're here today with Pepin.
Yo.
And my brother, Nick.
Sup?
And I, of course, am Meader. And today we're going to be talking about one of my favorite shows of all time. Just started watching it 2 months ago, maybe a little bit more. Maybe it's been 3 months now. Watched the whole thing in 2 days. And then I've watched it probably 7 times since then, maybe 8.
Yeah, I'm really surprised about that as well, because you liked it, but you weren't like a huge fan of it.
Yeah, things change. How much have you watched it, Nathan?
So I've seen it maybe 4 or 5 times. Let's say 4 times. I haven't seen it in a while, so it's been like maybe a year or so. I've seen like the first 5 episodes a few times for the few random people, but I'm a little hazy on a lot of the details, but I know most of the overarching plots. And Nick, how about you?
I think I've watched it 4 or 5 times also. But I've also read like the manga and stuff like that. Like, I'm a pretty big fan of it.
How much of the manga have you read exactly?
All of it.
All of it?
Yeah.
Is it pretty extensive?
Yeah, they have a lot of like add-ons and stuff too. Like a lot of information.
That's really cool. So we're going to be mainly focusing on the show here today, but I think it would be really interesting if during the course of that, there's certain things that were in the manga that would be worth mentioning, that you would you be willing to bring those up?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
That's fantastic. I'm really glad that you're here for this, and I'm really excited because this is one of my favorite shows of all time, if not my favorite.
Now, Nick, first of all, would you say the manga is pretty similar to the show, or is it very different?
Yeah, I'd say it's almost word for word the exact same. Mostly it's just like the TV show left some stuff out.
Is anything important or?
Not really. Like the basic plot of it and all the characters and stuff are all the same.
That's very cool. Not a lot of animes can do that kind of thing, so that's pretty impressive that they could.
Now, I want to try something new to this podcast that might end up becoming a regular thing. I want to try a little quiz at the beginning, and then that'll kind of, have some of us be able to strut their stuff, like me, who's watched the show an obsessive amount of times, like back to back, ridiculous. And it'll also kind of lay the groundwork for some things that may come into play later. And I mean, does anyone want to start us off?
You have notes written down, is that right?
Yeah, but it's on my phone and that's upstairs charging, I think.
Oh, fuck.
So I don't have notes with me.
Damn it.
But I will need them. And just so that everybody listening is aware, I know this is a really long intro before we're really digging into it, but it'll be worth it. This is going to be more than one part. This is going to probably be at least 3, maybe more parts, talking just about Death Note. Just because I'm that obsessed.
So I think the first question I would have to ask to you guys is, I warned Steve about this when I recommended the show, and it's that the show has a infamous drop-off in quality. Now, honestly, I don't think it's that bad after, spoilers, L dies. But it's definitely not as good as it was before, so shows like maybe A, and then L dies, and goes to maybe B minus kind of material.
I disagree wholeheartedly. I do not think that after L dies, you originally told me after the big event happens, you'll know exactly what it is. After it happens, you can just basically stop watching, or you can keep watching. The show's still good, but it's just not as good. I would never, ever recommend anybody stop after L dies. The show needs to go to its conclusion. Otherwise, it does not complete the arc.
I agree wholeheartedly. I think I can kind of understand what you're saying about that, but I feel like if there is a dip at all, it's only for a short period of time before it picks up to being just as good as it was before, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. Now, to be completely honest, I actually really like the ending of it. I don't think it's as good, but I think other people kind of overhype it or oversell how, how big the drop is in quality. But because, if you listen to any review about Death Note, they'll say, you can stop watching then. I was just trying to sell you on the idea of watching it at all, Steve, or, at least watching most of it.
Fair. I've never listened to any reviews. I've never read any articles. I have no outside knowledge other than me obsessively watching the show, and that is it. So honestly, had you not said something, and even though you did say something, I never saw a drop in quality. I have no idea what you're talking about.
Cool. Nick, have you done a lot of research into the Death Note community, or have you read a lot of forum posts or theories on various off topics?
Almost none at all. I never really went online with it. There was some general theories about the show that I read. I think it might have been even Wikipedia or something like that one day, but nothing that really I found all that interesting. It was mostly just watching the show and thinking about it, or reading the manga and realizing other things I missed during the show that I kind of was influenced in my theories about it.
Right. I myself have done a little delving into the Death Note community, Death Note, theories and stuff, but not very much. It's mostly just YouTube comments, because I couldn't find Death Note anywhere but YouTube for a little while. I don't know why.
And now it is on Netflix.
It is.
So if you haven't seen it, then you shouldn't be listening this far, because we've already dropped some spoilers. But even if you know the spoilers, watch it. Now, I think at this point it would be awesome. Let's go into the quiz. I want to know if you guys know what year this show took place and started in. When Light first gets the notebook, what year is it?
2004.
2006.
It's 2007.
Really?
Yeah, and you actually see that on when L first installs cameras in the Yagami house. There's a quick shot from inside the camera, as if you're looking at through the surveillance camera, and it says a date at the bottom is January 2007.
Then that would mean that he got the Death Note in 2006, because that would be the next year in January. The first time that all the members met L, it was on New Year's Day, so it became 2007.
But 2006, 2007 is around the time.
Fair enough.
I was trying to judge it by the technology, because a lot of the technology they have in it is, it's kind of advanced. You got computers, forums, and even flip phones and stuff. And to me, that's 2007 range, but 2004 range, but 2007 also makes sense for that technology.
Mm.
So I have a interesting fact about Kira, and in the show, they say that in America, they're kind of, on the forum, they were kind of getting his name after Killer, Killa, right? Or Killer. And it doesn't quite make sense, because Kira, how does that quite make sense? Well, it's because in the Japanese language, the R's are kind of somewhat between an L and an R, which is why you kind of hear I'm so Ronery, a lot of South Park. So to them, when they hear Killer, they hear Kara. And it actually translates over into the manga and the show and how they pronounce it.
That's some pretty good background there. Yeah, because I know Light says they're calling me Kira, which they're taking from the English word killer. And by the way, that wasn't South Park. That was actually Team America that I'm So Ronery is from, when they spoofed Kim Jong-il.
America! Fuck yeah!
Exactly. Okay. No, that's actually really interesting. You're pretty big into language, especially recently, huh?
Yes.
Let's bring up some of our major points here. Does anyone have anything burning that they want to lead off with?
So, a question we started talking about, and this is kind of what maybe prompted us to have a actual discussion about this, is is L evil?
Is L evil or is Light evil?
Is L bad? Is he acting morally? Is he acting within his own kind of self-justified state? Would you say he is a good person?
L is playing a game, and he only cares about winning the game. He's doing the exact same thing Light is doing. And I know I asked you at one point who you thought the epitome of good was in the show. And most people who I've asked that question to say L. And I disagree with that, because L is not above killing people in order to solve this puzzle. Even if there's somebody who's a bad guy, somebody who's in jail or whatever, already on death row, L is not above putting them in harm's way in order to solve a puzzle.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think that his main priority is just to solve the case, even if it does, use someone else's life to do so. So I would agree saying that L is probably not, the pure good of the show.
So are we arguing here that he is not the pure good, or he's not, morally, say, valorous? Or are we saying that he is somewhat morally neutral, or either morally, bad? Is he a bad actor, a good actor, or more of a neutral actor?
He's neutral with a small lean towards good.
I agree.
And what's the small lean towards good comprised of?
Trying to catch somebody who is doing bad things.
So this is kind of analogous to, say, a cop who is just kind of doing his job, and he's working for a paycheck. He's not really necessarily doing things good.
He is a cop. Yeah, he's a detective.
Or let's say a doctor who, cures people, but they don't really care about people so much. They just picked it because it paid pretty high.
Sure.
Oh, well, a house.
I think that was disgusting use of house there, and not accurate at all. And now I have to disagree with you.
So, if L is morally neutral, what is Kira, or Light? Is he morally bad? I mean, he's definitely believes in what he believes. He has a whole kind of moral compass to himself. I mean, he at least justifies his actions. He's never did I do something wrong? He always has a plan and a reason. So is that kind of bad? I mean, what do you think of him, morally?
I think of him as being the most evil on the show.'s probably pretty close to pure evil. I don't think he actually cares about anyone but himself. I would say he's a sociopath, and also has a pretty large god complex. He has a lot of issues.
But is he not, in a way, a god?
I don't know. I think they explain it well in the show when they say he's not a god. He's just a child with a power to kill, basically. He's trying to play God, but in reality, he isn't a fair god, because he doesn't, because he follows his set of guidelines of who he kills, but he also steps outside of those guidelines whenever he's threatened at all. And that wouldn't probably be what an actual god would do, I would say. They wouldn't be fearful of anything.
But an actual god wouldn't need to be fearful of being caught. And Light makes it very clear. I'm not a Shinigami. There's a difference between a Shinigami killing people and a human killing people. And he never says it, but the biggest difference is that Light killing people means that other people are going to be after him. And a Shinigami, nothing can kill them.
I don't think that justifies his actions by any means. Just because he can get caught, and he has the fear of that doesn't mean that.
Well, he also has another fear as well, and it's not just of getting caught, but it's of portraying himself as a godlike figure. He cares very much about how people perceive him, to the point where when the second cure started, coming about, he was kind of mortified, because he's oh no, people are going to get the wrong impression of Kira. I need to stop this, because Kira wouldn't do this. This isn't something Kira would do. He's very, he has a very good, not good conception, very well-defined conception of what Kira is and what he does, and he doesn't want that to get tarnished at all.
I'm going to take the unpopular route here and make the argument that Light actually is good, and that if it wasn't for people trying to stop him, he would create a more just civilization.
It might be more just, yeah, but it's not good by any means. Like, one person can't decide who lives and die. Like, that can never be a good thing. Like, that's not fair. Like, that's why democracy is like such like a loved thing, is because it's not just one person having all the power. Like,
democracy is just groupthink in action, and it's a horrible way to run government. But regardless of democracy, Light is taking the weight of all of those murders on his shoulders. He's becoming a martyr in order to save all of civilization. He's taking away all of the bad people. So if he kills 10 murderers who each would have killed one person, the same amount of murders are happening. The difference is the people who are dying are people who are morally bankrupt. So one person is taking the weight of 10 people on his own shoulders and cleaning up civilization. And they say in the show multiple times that war is down and completely disappeared, and that crime is so low it might as well not exist anymore.
This is part of the complexity, and that's a very utilitarian argument. He's doing more good by murdering these murderers than, if he were to not. And that's a hard argument to tackle, because the main thing you have to keep in mind is that you're having to trust his judgment. So if we look at Light as a god, we could say, okay, God's knowledge and judgment of people is perfect. Therefore, any people that he kills is, righteous. But in this case, he might have wrong beliefs. He might believe a little too much. And in the show, they indicate, I think Misa makes a comment about, wanting to kill people who are lazy or something like that. I'm going to get this wrong, but killing people who are lazy. And Light says something to the fact of, no, it's too early for that. That's later. And so he had plans to kind of go on to a more tyrannical level. And maybe we just didn't see that yet in the show, because that was a much later plan.
No, absolutely. That is definitely something that is discussed and is implied, that at some point he does want to get to the point where anybody who's not contributing to society will also be punished, and that everybody needs to be, an active member of a positive, good society. But my argument is that his actions overall are good. Like, what he's doing isn't necessarily good, and he may be flawed at some times, and he may make the wrong choices sometimes. It sounds like your main point there was that he's not perfect, and that sometimes he's going to make judgments that aren't necessarily along the righteous pathway.
To some effect, it's not necessarily that he's not perfect. I mean, that's kind of obvious, but it's more that the more in depth he goes into this project, let's say he initially starts out killing serial killers and, really, really bad people. Okay, that might be fine. But then when he starts going into more subjective stuff, like whether someone contributes to society or whether someone does X, Y, and Z, it starts going into his, his very mental conceptions of what's good, what's wrong, very, very many details about what makes a good person, what makes a bad person. And, killing someone or putting them in jail because, let's say, they, don't work enough or don't do X, Y, and Z that's very hard for us to think about. It's very hard for the brightest minds in society to think about, and to trust, a person like Light with a responsibility. I don't think it's possible.
Yeah, I mean, had he gotten to that point, like we said, it seemed like it was something that he planned to do eventually, but we never saw it in action. So to the point of where he made it, at very minimum, I think that what he was doing was overall good because of the outcome.
I just want to tease out a small detail with Nick real quick. When you're talking about democracy a little earlier, were you meaning more like a republic, like he's infringing on people's rights, like, in a way, or is it more that people should have a choice over their society or their government or their culture?
Yeah, mostly that's infringing on their rights.
And what would the right be exactly? Like, say the right to life?
Yeah, basically, like just freedom in general, like not worrying about like if he was to take it to the lazy level and stuff like that, like not worrying about if you're not working, you're just going to suddenly die because this person decided that you're not being active enough or something like that. I don't know. I just think that it can't be pure good if it's just one person deciding who lives and who dies anyways, regardless of their crime. Like, I think that it needs to be a group decision.
Yeah, I think part of what definitely helped Light out in this whole thing was he had detectives, lawyers, judges ruling that these people were serial killers or these people did do these things. And he wasn't actually determining any of that for himself. He was just reading newspapers and, court reports and all that kind of stuff. So that might be another factor to consider with Light's judgment.
That it's not just his ultimate judgment. It's not just one person making this decision. He's just carrying out the actual murder of these people, the actual sentencing of these people, most of whom were already on death row anyway, so they were sentenced to death. Light just pulled the trigger and got rid of them before they could do any more harm.
Was the cop that actually kind of was in favor of, like, kind of, not exactly in favor, but kind of pointed out that was a good thing, maybe?
Matsuda, yeah.
Yeah, he was very much against Kira. At the very end, when Light was the new L and they were in Light's hotel room, he did mention that he was kind of swaying a little more towards Kira, but he was still firmly against him. He just wanted to point out that, war and crime were down, but that did not change his sense of justice in we need to catch this serial killer.
And kind of going back to the whole government thing, why did the police have a kind of issue with that exactly? I mean, is it because they don't have control over who is being killed? Because they're kind of doing similar stuff themselves. They're putting these people on death row, right? I mean, why are they having a problem with that exactly?
Because in their mind, it's who the person is irrelevant. This person does not have authority to do so. Therefore, they are a murderer and they need to be caught. Regardless of who they're killing, they're still a murderer.
Plus, the police were being targeted anyways because they were trying to catch him. And even if they hadn't originally, I don't think it would have mattered. I think they probably would have been targeted anyways, unless they publicly stated they were going to let him just do whatever he wanted. But I don't think that would have happened.
So, is there any character which we'd say is good, is kind of moral within the spectrum? So we kind of said that Light is probably evil, right? Or Steve says he's kind of good, right?
I say he's a martyr.
He's ultimately good, but he might be taking kind of immoral actions to that path. Or rather, the effects of his action are good.
Yeah, I mean, I think that there's a serious case to be made that Light is good.
And Nick, you were saying that he is bad. He's evil, but and part of the reason why is because people don't have control over him. It's all kind of his judgment. It's kind of a dictatorship in a way.
Yeah.
And I think we all decided that L is pretty much kind of neutral. So is there anybody in the show who would be considered good?
I would say probably the most moral person in the show would be Sorichi Oyagami, which is Light's dad. I don't know, I just feel like he's the moral compass of the show anyways. He's always against anybody dying no matter what. He always wants to prevent any deaths possible. And I don't know, he just puts his life on the line to catch Kira every day.
See, I don't know about what's the name, Sorichiro?
Sorichio, yeah.
That's a hard one. I don't know. Let's call him S. I'm going to call him S because I'm dumb.
Call him Chief Yagami.
Chief Yagami. I'm not sure if he's good because this comes back to a kind of a Socratic thing where, to me, he just seems like he's following the rules. He might kind of believe in them to some degree, but he mostly believes in the law. That's his main justification. This is the law. This is what should happen. And to me, if you're just following laws, you're not really, without kind of knowledge of them or whether they're good or bad, with no judgment involved, it's just kind of like a robot, a amoral robot, or some kind of, not a bear, but, amoral robot who just kind of follows orders and does, what the law says. And to me, that's not necessarily moral.
Absolutely. He has absolutely no direction of his own. He's just whatever the law says, he does, absolutely regardless. Like when he's given the gun and he's like, no, I won't use a gun. Like it's a life or death situation. Like literally, you can stop Kira right now by shooting him in the leg. But because you're technically a civilian and you're technically not allowed to carry one, you're not going to carry one. I think that's a bad judgment.
When was that exactly?
That was when they were catching Higochi, when he was going back to the TV studio to try and kill the guy who was going to be announcing over the radio what his name was.
Matsuda.
Yeah, right before the car chase at the end.
Right.
And he's in there with, what's her name?
Iber and Weddy.
Weddy, yeah. He's in there with her, and then she offers him a gun, and he says no.
Yeah, that does kind of weird as well.
Civilians aren't allowed to use a gun. And then a little bit later on, L offers Light a gun, and Light says the same thing, and Light refuses to use a gun. So Light is like a mirror image of his dad when he doesn't have the notebook.
Yeah, that's kind of interesting because Light is very consequentialist, kind of like you're saying, grit is good, or he can do better by killing all these people than by not killing any people and, kind of going against the law, whereas Chief Yagami is, straight-laced. It's going by the law exactly. He doesn't really care if this will prevent thousands, millions of deaths. It's just a matter of, whether it fits the law or not.
Right.
Going back to the original point you were making of that he only follows the law and stuff like that, and even the gun thing, I disagree completely. I think the gun thing makes sense. And also, even Iber says that he doesn't want a gun. He doesn't like using guns, and he's not even, like, any part of... Like, he's actually a criminal, and he doesn't even like using guns. So I don't agree with that. And also, I don't agree with that he always, no matter what, follows the law, because multiple times in the show he doesn't. Like, he allows, like, cameras to be installed, like, a ton of them everywhere in both his house and another member of the police force's house, and that is against the law completely in Japan. Like, that is totally an invasion of privacy, but he allows it anyways because he wants their names to be cleared.
Is it against the law? Because
the police have right to do pretty much whatever they want, and at that point they were still part of the police.
Because I thought there'd be like what's it called, probable cause or suspicion, because they can do that kind of stuff with if you have legit suspicion of them.
Is there another example as well?
I'm not sure about the laws in Japan at all, but that might be the case. But I gotta assume they have some kind of probable cause law.
When he is doing the trade for Sayu, his daughter, and like with the notebook and stuff like that, like he gives the notebook to the criminal organization for his daughter back, and I'm not sure that's exactly how a police officer would approach that situation. I think that the police would probably more want the death note to not fall into criminals' hands rather than to save.
At that point, he's not a cop, and there's nothing illegal there. He did nothing illegal.
Yeah, but that's not what we're debating. We're debating that he only ever follows law, and I don't agree with that.
Right, and I haven't heard anything that fights against he only follows law.
Well, yeah, I think he has a distinction in his head as well with his role, because he has a role as a cop, which is why he's not willing to carry a gun when he is a civilian, right? But then when he's not a cop, and training the notebook, he's also not a cop, so he doesn't feel bound by the law or to enact the law. It's not against the law to say exchange a death note for your daughter. Actually,
he specifically states this is the right thing to do as a police officer and as a father.
Yeah.
So he does think he's following the law by doing so. And then you mentioned that Ivor doesn't like guns. That didn't sound like Ivor is like, no, it's against the law, so I don't want to use it. It sounded more like he was just like, I don't like using guns. Like, some people just don't like using guns. But that's not the reason Chief Yagami did it. Chief Yagami didn't do it because it was illegal. That was his only reason.
I agree.
Ivor?
Yeah, he was the con man.
Oh, yeah, the one that was brought in with the girl.
Yes.
And, yeah, he just had a distaste for them. Like, he doesn't, like, into them.
Right.
Like,
and the girl was Weddy.
Mm-hmm. And it's interesting that the con man and the Weddy, the girl Weddy.
Yeah, she specialized in, like, breaking into places. And
she's a professional thief.
Yes, that thief by trade.
Yeah, they were into that just, like, on the side, and they got hired. Right?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting that they were would be so willing to help, but maybe not, because if they're thieves, they're probably prime suspects.
I'm pretty sure that they mention it that they owe Elle a favor for something.
They don't mention that in the show.
They don't.
They do not. I assumed that they were extremely well paid because Elle is loaded.
Okay, one more character. And this one, I have a hard time thinking about. It's Misa. Okay.
Misa Amani?
No, Misa.
Misa.
Stop with that Misa crap.
So, I don't know where Misa fits in on any kind of spectrum, because she feels like a child to me.
You mean good to bad spectrum?
Yeah, the good to bad spectrum. Like, whoa.
She's arguably the most selfish person of the whole show.
I wouldn't say selfish is the correct word. I would say that she is selfless towards Elle. Or Light, I mean, not Elle, sorry. Like, she just wants to do absolutely anything she can to help Light. But I agree that she's evil. Like, I don't like everything she does is not.
The only reason she wants to help Light is that Light loves her. And that's selfish.
Well, just to be clear, it's not exactly Light, but more Kira.
Well, it's both. Yeah,
both.
She's like, because when she loses the memory after her death note is like she gives ownership of the death note to Rem. When she loses her memory, she still remembers Light and is in love with him and stuff, and that's knowing that they're not knowing that he's Kira. So
when she doesn't know he's Kira, at one point, Elle asks her, what if Light was Kira? And she said that would be wonderful. And then she says that she loves Light the most, and like she's really grateful to Kira, but she loves Light. But if Light was Kira, he's like, well, wouldn't that be scary? And she's like, that wouldn't be scary at all.
That's strange, because is there something about Light's personality that shines through with Kira? Misa loves Kira. Is there something about, that whole alter ego of Kira that shines in through Light that makes her love him? Like, I mean, is it related, or is it just, two different people?
I think that she started as being in love with Kira, probably. And then when she met Light, knowing that he's Kira, but she still met Light as a person himself, I think then is when she actually fell in love with Light. And it didn't matter as much that he was Kira. Like, it still helped and she still loved it, but it wasn't so much that he was Kira, it was more she imprinted on him as a person.
And she claims love at first sight.
Well, I was just going to say, well, that helps prove the point that she was just in love with Kira, because literally first sight was seeing that he was Kira. That was the first time she ever saw him, was when she noticed that she couldn't see his lifespan, so he had to have been Kira. So, I mean, that could contribute to love at first sight, because it was the first sight of her seeing that who is Kira.
Yeah, but one thing is clear. Light is popular with the ladies.
Yeah. Well, I was just thinking about that. There's the reporter girl who I think he went on a date with on the bus towards the beginning.
Yeah.
And she was infatuated with him, even then. And then she loved Kira later on. And I don't know if that's like a trend, or there's only like two people I can think of, but
Takeda is her name.
Oh, Takeda.
Well, her last name.
Is there something about, the personality of Light and or Kira that kind of makes him...
He's really cute and really smart.
Yeah, he plays mean game of tennis as well.
He's pretty much good at everything he does.
He's a genius.
He's just really natural and effortless at everything he does, plus he's really attractive. So he's pretty much the Japanese version of me.
Yeah.
Well, okay, so I think we've dealt with a lot of the characters, and whether they're good or bad. I think there's probably some more appeal with this, and we could probably discuss it in a bit more detail.
Yeah.
I mean, Matsuda might be interesting, but I think he's a very, very complex character to tackle. I think we can tackle him in more depth next time on We Need to Talk.